Hello and welcome to the North Bank Podcast. I'm your host, Holly, and I'm joined by Stef. Hello, Stef.
Hello.
Okay, on that tone, straight away, should we be worried about our form, our performance yesterday?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because look, we'll talk about Bournemouth game. We'll look ahead to the game on Wednesday, PSG away, obviously, and I can't help but feel that the Bournemouth game, the Palace game, our last 6 games in the Premier League will be viewed through the prism of what happens on Wednesday. We qualify on Wednesday. Nobody will give a monkeys about the last couple of games unless we don't finish in the top 5. Then questions may be asked. And we had a couple of interesting results today. We had Newcastle drop 2 points at Brighton. Could have been worse, bar a last-minute penalty. But Chelsea beat Liverpool, which is typical. Hopefully Liverpool do us the same favour next weekend.
I guarantee now.
Full-strength team, and they'll go for it.
Will not.
Yes.
They rested a few players today, and I didn't watch the game. But essentially, yeah, they're saving themselves. Because, let's face it, we've been their closest rivals this season.
That's a tenuous
exactly.
descriptor at the moment.
15-point gap's hardly close, is it? But they will, it's at Anfield, they'll want to, it will be a statement of sorts depending on what statements you can make when you've already won the league. But they will want that little notch, definitely.
Oh, absolute, no question. And we're managed by a former Evertonian, so they'll absolutely want to put us back in our box completely. But you'd understand that, fair enough. I would if I was in their shoes as well, for sure. I mean, look, I still think top 5 is likely, with the fact that Chelsea have to play Forest and Newcastle. We play Newcastle, obviously, but I think Villa play one of them as well. I think there's a really extreme set of circumstances that have to come into play whereby we wouldn't qualify for top 5. I still think we're going to need, I don't think 67 points will be enough. So we're going to need a result somewhere, and we're away to Liverpool, home to Newcastle, and away to Southampton. Really don't want anything on that last game. It's... Anyway, look, we'll get to that. I watched the game yesterday. You saw most of the game yesterday. I did ask for Tabs from the Grove podcast to give us a little insight into what the stadium was like yesterday, so I will read through that at some point. But look, there's a load of statistics doing the rounds today, and it's about 21 points dropped from winning positions, and 10th time we've squandered a lead. And where do you stand on that? Is it look, yesterday the defence was really poor for the 2 goals we conceded, like a long throw in and a corner kick. One of the Palace goals, Raya, it was a mistake from Saliba, and Raya was like sweeper keeper, and Mateta put it into a nice finish, but he put it into an open net, an open goal, like in essence. Again, at the other end of the pitch, missed opportunities. Martinelli, Rice missed a couple. Martinelli, I mean, Trossard and Ødegaard are annoying me because they're just not shooting. They're passing up the opportunity to shoot. I guess at least Martinelli shoots. It's just crap shooting when he does. So again, missed opportunities. So where do you... 17 of our 35 Premier League games this season, we've either scored 0 or 1. So where do you fall on this? I know if Chris was here, he'd be saying it's all the defence.
I don't know if Chris says that exactly.
Yes, that's exactly what he says.
Well, all right. Where do I sit? We've conceded the fewest goals in the league.
We've got the best defence.
Which makes us the best defence. But a bit like we were moaning last season about those games where we drew blanks. How and where we concede those goals have become incredibly costly.
because we haven't taken our chances.
And that's the thing for me. I mean, there's context in the situation. This is a team that
Look,
can't make a huge amount of changes.
okay, but take yesterday. We created the chances, we missed the chances, and then we came. We were scuppered by what could a goal that could have been disallowed for handball. He pushed it. He put it in with his elbow. I mean, I'm not really down on that side of it. If that was an Arsenal goal, I'd want it to stand. But I suppose the point is that if it was an Arsenal goal, it probably wouldn't have stood the season that we've had. But so for me, it's all. I mean, it's negligent in the last two transfer windows. You said that, yeah. We bemoaned the 5 games we drew blanks last season. Well, I haven't done a tally this season, but it's probably more than 5, with 3 games to go. It's. I don't know what it is. Oh yeah, we've had bad luck with injuries, and defensively from set pieces. I know almost 40% of our goals have been conceded from set pieces, and that's the worst in the league. But third worst in the league is Liverpool. Okay, 10% difference. They've conceded 7 goals from set pieces. We've conceded 9. Like you're going to concede a goal from a set piece. Like it's going to happen. It's only problematic when we're not 2 or 3-0 up at the time.
And that is the difference, isn't it? So I am on that side, I think, in the sense that you're going to concede some goals, but it doesn't matter if you're already 2 or 3 up. Yeah, because for the most part yesterday, for an hour, that was kind of the performance we wanted, minus the second or third goal that didn't come.
Yeah, the missed chances again. It's just such a familiar refrain from the Arsenal fan. We'll miss these chances. We'll rue these missed chances, rather. It's frustrating, and I was quite bullish before the game with our thinking of our prospects on Wednesday against PSG. I was more confident before the game. I've had that kind of wind knocked out of my sails a little bit looking ahead, and I'm hoping we were just looking ahead to PSG and the mind was on that. Where do you stand on the strength of Arteta's starting 11? He made one
for
change.
Bournemouth?
Yeah, yesterday. So he played White at right back instead of Timber, and it was pretty much full strength.
We
Apart from
predicted that.
We did predict that. I didn't want that myself. I predicted what I thought he would do.
Yeah.
I would have liked Nwaneri to play. I would have liked Sterling to play, start the game, bring them on if you need them. But I don't. For me, Lewis Skelly looked really tired, and he played the full game. Saka played 85 minutes. Where do you stand on his actual starting 11 and how strong it was?
It didn't bother me. One assumes Timber and Merino. It's about, I don't know, Timber took a knock. Merino's managing his minutes. I think it was more the fact that it was a clear, like you say, the league position. The fact that Champions League position isn't secure. He's probably looking at the Bournemouth game at home way more than perhaps Liverpool away and Newcastle at home, because Newcastle have been in good form, as a way to try and secure those points. And like I say, for an hour, we were playing with that mindset and intensity. I talked also about rhythm. I think it was an element of, especially to begin with, Partey played in a way that made me even more annoyed at his petty yellow card that he got for Real Madrid, because I was just thinking, I've been aware of it all season, but it was like every loose ball for a bit. There were periods in the game where it obviously didn't happen, but there was a bit, and it's maybe just my mind looking for it. A loose ball just seemed to find Partey, and I was thinking, where was that Wednesday? Rice is action man, trying to be everywhere. Marino's playing different roles and trying to code switch what he's doing. So that was frustrating. But I think I would have gone with the same team. The frustrating thing, we just said, we didn't get the second goal. That means we're more reluctant to withdraw players from the game. If we're 2 up, even just 2 up, at 2-0, we would have taken the likes of an Odegaard off for Nwaneri earlier.
Okay, well, why is Waneri not coming on earlier than he did?
Well, that's a bit of a mystery, isn't it? Because, like you say,
You don't lose a lot when he comes on.
you don't, and also you don't. Generally, substitutions are in those areas where the players exert more speed, sprints, and things like that as well. And those creative players forward. You're not going to risk your defensive structure unless you absolutely have to. So why isn't Waneri getting more minutes? There must, but again, we don't know the full context. Maybe there's something in the background where the medical staff are saying you can't do it. But like bigger picture, what does 5 minutes do?
Well, it's a
Surely
Hail
that makes it
Mary, isn't
worse.
it? Yeah,
If he needs a proper rest, he needs a proper rest. Bring him on. I just
you're
want
not
it
going
to.
to have much of an impact in 5 minutes, especially when you're coming on with Zinchenko and who else came on with him at the time? Sterling. Like, it's what message is that?
Yep.
Well, if you get a goal, you get a goal.
But that is
It's
who
like,
we've got on the bench. There isn't that option
no, and that's fine, but I would have Waneri on 20 minutes
earlier.
earlier.
Oh, easily,
Let him
easily.
impact the game. Let him get into the game, fight, feel his way into the game. And he doesn't need much time to feel his way into the game. He's proven that in the past. He can get to the pace of the game quite quickly and be productive and dangerous quite quickly. But he had no minutes at all. Um, but with Party playing, Rice is much more effective. For me, Rice is not a 6; he's an 8, and I think that's becoming quite clear as the season has progressed. He's very dangerous. He was far more of a centre forward than Trossard was yesterday. For me, the two players who were disappointing, and it's not a shock really, Trossard and Ødegaard. I know Ødegaard put a nice ball through for Rice's goal, but they were almost the same person, interchangeable on the screen, because the ball was just bouncing off them at times. The chance that when Raya passed the ball out to Ødegaard and he ceded a chance, it must have been in the first half, everybody was blaming Raya for the poor pass. Ødegaard was just sleeping. Like, it wasn't that far away from him at all. And I think he even might have got a touch on it and it went straight then to the Bournemouth player. I just thought it was just labours, and there's a growing conversation around Ødegaard, and he absolutely must be injured. He must be carrying something, because he's a world class player, and his form is just in the toilet at the moment.
Well, that's the thing. It is annoying how Arsenal in different phases always need some kind of scapegoat for these things. There's not just one problem at the moment. It can't be boiled down to one player. Football doesn't really work like that anyway. And Odegaard would be the first to admit that he's not at his best. But neither is the team collectively either.
So which comes first?
Well, this is the thing. He is the creative engine of the team. So when he functions, it will have a knock-on effect here and there. So, I get that. And no one is above criticism. But some people are definitely taking it too far.
I'd still start him against PSG because
Well,
of what he can do, what he's capable of. And I
that's why
was
it's
absolutely all the play. I didn't have him. I wanted him to absolutely start the game against Bournemouth because I wanted him to find a bit of form, and he got an assist.
got an assist, I was going to say.
So maybe you see it more on the telly than you do when you're at the game. But him and Martinelli were doing my nut, waving their arms at the crowd to get the crowd going. It's like, sort your bloody own game out without worrying about the crowd.
Another contentious point, particularly I'm seeing from some people online, but we hear grumblings around us where we stand as well, in that whole gesturing to the crowd, come on, get up for it, get up for it. Like you say, and I said last time about the disappointing atmosphere against PSG, it's just the English culture. We respond to the game. And because the league's gone, a lot of tickets on ticket exchange, and there will be a natural sort of tailing off of interest for those league games, and it just sort of gets frustrating when the crowd are trying to gee everyone up, and it's like, what are we geeing ourselves up for? I don't know. There's where there was synergy before, there's not so much now.
And again, it's coming with a run of bad form and a disappointment in the league. It's human nature, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
we've kind of, I mean, to say we plateaued this season is probably being a bit kind, but we certainly haven't kicked on after the previous 2 seasons. And this is maybe what happens, and then we kick on again next season. Let me just read then. I'll get to tabs because none of us for once were in the stadium. So tabs, and I'll read what he said. He's from the Grove podcast. I'll read what he said, kind of word for word. He says the atmosphere was pretty decent. Usual. This is before the game. Pretty decent. Usual buoyant, expectant fare. Sun was out. A few drinks at the Arsenal. What's not to like? Clear we were going strong to win the game and secure the Champions League spot. Plus, the few days rest fatigue shouldn't be an issue. Also, what other options does he have? And there is that. There's two sides to that. Absolutely. I think Legrove on Twitter, he said that he would have started with Ranieri and Sterling and who else did he have? He had 4 players that he would have started. Who
He would have
didn't
started
start.
Sterling.
Yeah, maybe Tierney and Zinchenko might have started. So Zinchenko in midfield, but yeah, I can understand why he went strong. I think Legrove also made the point that PSG rested 10 players. They've already won the league.
And Legrove has been consistent this season at saying
Right.
that even though we don't have the depth in the squad, the bits of rotation you can do enables you to rely on your better players in the squad further down the line.
Yeah.
And maybe Saka doesn't
And he's
break
right.
down. Maybe Havertz doesn't break down.
Yeah, well,
Jesus, that's freak. It's an ACL pop. There's not a lot you can do about that. But I get that.
No, but they might. So Saka and Havertz are the two
Definitely
overplayed players.
And Gabriel maybe too.
No question. And yeah, possibly. Centre backs don't tend to run. Although, mind you, he's running up and down the penalty box for corners all the time. So you never know. During the game, again, all was fine, he says. Atmosphere was fine, good, standard for this sort of game and given the current state of affairs. Chance back and forth between the North Bank and the clock end. All good for him, he says. It was quite a fun game to watch. Rice was the driving force, created chances, missed a few, and felt like a good warm-up for PSG, as Bournemouth are a bit PSG light. High press, well coached, good in transition, attacking with pace and numbers. Happy and expectant at 1-0 up, but we all knew we needed that second goal, and then he could sense a little frustration creeping in that we hadn't got it. We wanted to get to the second, then get players off the pitch and on the way to Paris. So everything seemed fine up until the equaliser. Even then it was okay in terms of the atmosphere. More that's annoying, more that it was all a bit too easy, but we go again. So like soft goal to concede, but we go again. Usual crowd reaction straight away, G the players up, which is definitely a trait that the Emirates has encouraged in the last, say, 3 seasons, that, we concede a goal, right, okay, no bemoaning that, let's go, let's get the atmosphere up again, no dwelling on what's just happened. But then they score again, and that's when the real frustration kicks in. And interesting, he said, especially the Ødegaard hate. So this is in the stadium. But also the fact that we left it late to make the changes, and even then we were playing with hope rather than purpose. And I don't think anyone, even the players, believed we would score an equaliser. And I messaged that on the WhatsApp group with 10 minutes to go. I would have been surprised had we created an opportunity, let alone scored a goal. And that's not. I mean, that has been Arsenal too many times recently, but that's not us. Even under Arteta, that hasn't been us previously. So he says it was all a mix of anger, frustration, resignation, a sense of we've seen this all before too much recently, mixed with perspective and the fact that it's all about PSG. At full time, he said he was expecting some boos, but quite a few had left already and didn't really hear much from where he was. Was actually surprised about how many stayed to clap the team off. I think the online head loss is usual. Twitter, X stuff. Don't see it on Threads or Blue Sky. In our group chat, there's a lot of Ødegaard and Arteta negativity. Perspective has been lost. And yes, we are where we are in part due to our own reasons as well as external factors. And also people don't want to hear it when they're angry. I just don't do angry and default to kind of defending the club team manager. You still can't see us dropping out of the top 5, even if we were to lose to PSG and just stumble over the line. But, it's like, I mean, I think my response to that was, as I've already said, I think we'll see. Well, it depends on what happens on Wednesday, and this run of form in the league will be viewed through that prism of, we get to Munich, we qualify for the final of the Champions League, and it won't matter. It won't matter one jot. We didn't pick up any injuries yesterday. That's a positive. I'm assuming Timber and Marino. So I'm assuming Timber's okay for Wednesday. I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
Came on.
But the league is. What are we now? We're 67 points, 3 games left. We are 4 points clear of Chelsea, with 3 games to go. That's Chelsea, who were doubtful to qualify for the Champions League next season. We are 4 points clear of them. Our goal difference is 12 plus 12 on them. So, I mean, unless we get an absolute doing over at Anfield, which has happened before, I can't see us turning that around, especially with their fixture list as well. Looking behind Chelsea then into 6th, Nottingham Forest are a further 3 points behind, but they do have a game in hand. So they are 7 points behind us. And Villa are 7 points behind us. But 1 win would have taken us out of Villa's reach. So it's a lot tighter than it need be, than it should be. We have thrown away lots of points. I still think top 5 is far more likely than unlikely. But
it's a little nagging doubt, though. Isn't it?
It is, and it's like no momentum going into the PSG game. And if I think how I feel, I was pretty bullish, quite confident, but just I didn't like that last 30 minutes yesterday. There was a lackadaisical approach from certain players, like all of the players, really. That urgency and energy had just gone. I mean, maybe they're thinking 30 minutes to go, I'm not busting a gut to turn this game around because I'm saving my
So why
energy
weren't the
reserves.
substitutions made quicker?
Well, I know, absolutely, yeah, for sure. But yeah, what did I? Yeah, what's your sense? What's your feeling?
Well, I mean, are we talking league? Are we talking Bournemouth? Are we talking PSG?
Well, I think one feeds into the other, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Is that a worrying result yesterday, or would we have won that game had we not played
performance?
Yeah,
it's the performance, which is then. It's weird. There's different perspectives on it because the 2 goals are essentially set piece goals, but they're defended really terribly. And you're talking about errors from players who aren't even defenders. I mean, Odegaard's got no interest in the ball. You said about handball, sure, fine, whatever. I mean, I don't particularly like those being given as handball because it's just hit his arm.
Yeah,
and that's fine. But if that's not given, you could understand why they'd probably then give Bournemouth a penalty.
Yeah.
Because he's just holding him and he's not looking at the ball like, what are you doing? So, yeah, I mean, that result certainly could happen. And I was pleased for a while with the performance. But with the way we tailed off, like it was like the energy levels and the belief just went through the floor. And we looked incompetent for the final part. Arguably some of the worst football we played this season.
Yeah, I'd say so. So that's the worst 30 minutes of our season.
Which, like you say, is poor timing. And that's in direct contrast to the way I felt about the PSG game. Because for about 20 minutes in the PSG game, I thought, oh, crap, we're going to do well to hang on here. Only for us to then establish ourselves. And I ended the game, again, disappointed, obviously, that we'd lost, but also buoyant with how we recovered. So, yeah, it's just like this at the moment.
I guess we have to wait until Wednesday to find out how we feel about yesterday.
Well, I mean, and the whole season.
Yes.
There could be an argument. You remember when, and this is the thing, there's one thing how you feel in a situation, and there's another thing years later when you look back. When we were in Project Youth and Wenger was going through his barren spell, and everyone was, it was all negative and toxic and how terrible it felt. And it was really frustrating. But there is a kind of revisionism going on at the moment where we look at the club and how they sort of stagnated, and everyone's sort of going, Wenger got us into the Champions League for however many years with those players. But it's actually probably not bad. No one's saying it's good, but it's maybe not as bad as it was, but it felt bad at the time. This season feels awful. Apart from the Champions League run, it feels awful in the league, really bad. And so on the one hand, you can sort of say, but we are still second. We're not Spurs bad or United bad in the league, this is. So maybe that's okay. But I'll tell you what, if we slip out those Champions League places.
Oh, no, that's a different conversation, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a...
So like you say, who knows? We're in this Schrodinger's...
I mean, there's all this debate at the moment after the Europa League semi-finals that, one of Spurs or United is going to win a trophy and qualify for the Champions League from either 15th or 16th place in the league. Would that constitute a better season than us finishing second and losing in a semi-final of the Champions League? It's like, so Spurs or United are going to win a competition we're not bad, we're too good for. Like, we literally are too good to play in the Europa League. And it's the first season that no Champions League clubs have dropped into the Europa League. It's like, am I irked by that? Yes, I am. I really don't want to...
Both things can be true.
I really don't want to contemplate a Spurs United Europa League final. I genuinely, it's just too awful to contemplate.
There's a similar analogy that I saw someone make online. So this weekend, because Leverkusen drew their game today, Bayern Munich are the Bundesliga champions. Harry Kane has won his first major honour of his career. So he's equal in major honours with Yaya Sanogo. No one is saying Yaya Sanogo's had a better career and he's a better player. No one at all. Harry Kane could have won nothing and people would still know that Harry Kane is one of the best strikers that has played in the Premier League. He just happened to play for a club that didn't win things while he was there. If George Best didn't play at a World Cup, I mean he's crap. Like it's a funny psychology people have. Of course we want a trophy. Of course we do. But come on.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Is it these false equivalencies that people make? It's just like I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not getting involved in that particular debate. But do you think this is? See, again, it's all about context and expectation. Being measured against our own, measuring this season based on our own expectations at the start of the season. Second place was a disappointment, and that's not arrogant. We were favourites to win the league. Man City dropped off a cliff, and Liverpool lost today. We could have been going to Anfield 18 points behind them.
Yep.
How? So how can that not be? How can that be classified
because
as a
they've been very
season?
consistent with their results as well. So there's two things going on.
Yes, but 18 points. Well, it's 15 points now, but 18 points is like so. However, semi-final of the Champions League is a success.
Very good. Yeah.
That's an achievement.
One better than last year.
Yeah, that's an achievement. That's no argument with that at all. Losing to PSG over two legs is no shame. There's no shame in that. They are widely considered the best team, and I do think the winner of the PSG Arsenal game will go on and win it simply because of how suspect Barcelona are at the back, and there's no guarantee Barcelona are going to go through to the final. Inter Milan might be, but then I think they've lost their striker, haven't they, Lautaro Martinez? I'm hoping the rumours, the murmurings out of France are that Dembele's injury is more hamstringy than cramp, and he won't be playing against us on Wednesday.
He will.
Are
We're
you
being
convinced?
strung along.
Am I being naive?
Yeah.
I think he's not going to play. They've still got enough players to cause us
100%
a bit of damage. However, they lost today, so they'll all be devastated, won't they?
After making 10 changes.
Yeah, João Neves is the
and
only
they're
one
already champions.
Yeah, so I think Inter and Barcelona both going for the league didn't rotate, but both won. I think their games. So just to compare Arteta to the other three managers and what he's done, we're not going for the league, but we are looking to secure Champions League qualification for next season. But, so look, I mean, I've got a couple of other things that I've written down, but none of it's positive.
Well, should I tell us what Chris has sent?
Yes.
Chris can't be with us today. He's got other engagements, been quite busy, but he did message a few things across. He said, watched up to Rice's goal on a plane about to take off, so hard for me to comment on the game overall. Would be good to mention the stats. Yeah, as you said, you've been on the hunt for those, as StatDad does. But he says a lot of the stats he's seen online perhaps point to something slightly more systematic regarding our ability to defend leads. Yes, we need to score more when chances present, but if we're not putting them away, don't concede at the other end. Is it lack of focus when defending? Note the goals we conceded to Brentford at home was not due to defenders as such, but Martinelli and Dross getting in a muddle. So perhaps how we defend as a team. We have the best defence in the Premier League, yet these set pieces, clean sheet stats are slightly alarming. Again, they wouldn't matter as much if we were scoring more, but it's worth a mention. What does he say on here? Not an ideal result ahead of PSG, as Arteta clearly wanted to keep the starting 11 minus Marino and Timber injured, on their toes, but it didn't work. Relatively late subs as well, with PSG in mind. Would rather they were off sooner, yeah, as we said. But perhaps as we're chasing the game, he didn't want to change it. Did they look tired? And then it's relying on players to deliver moments, the same players that haven't been delivering those moments. So, I don't know. He has a point here on Odegaard. Odegaard, is he undroppable? Is his off-the-ball work and being captain the only justifications for keeping him in the side at the moment? Wow.
Well, interesting. I'd written down something about Odegaard. I don't know, it was the 90th, 91st minute, something like that. There was a little half chance in the box and he went for a shot and the follow-through, he kind of kicked the heel of one of the Bournemouth defenders and he went down injured. And there was just a nanosecond, a thought passed my mind. Would that be a blessing? Not a serious injury, of course, just like for Wednesday. Would that be a blessing? Would it be a blessing to take him out of the fire? And I immediately copped myself on and scolded myself for having that thought, because I still think he's pivotal to our success. If he plays well, we will play well. And so he definitely starts. As to whether he's undroppable, I think probably at the moment, play through your bad form, get to good form. That's why I wanted him to play against Bournemouth. He did get an assist. He largely a bit better in the first half, but again, a lot of gesticulating. I think he misses Havertz. I think you talked about like set piece and the high press. Well, Havertz really is relentless in the high press, along with Odegaard. And
it's what's disappointed me most about Trossard.
Well, exactly. And so you've got Trossard starting the game yesterday, and that puts a lot more onus on Odegaard doing the off-the-ball work than if he had Havertz alongside him, or if he had Marino alongside him. They're all harder workers than Trossard.
So there's the thing. Again, step back. Look at this run we've had, especially since Havertz has gone out of the team. Or Kivior's done well to replace Gabriel, but Havertz in the way the team play at the top of the pitch, you can make some changes and cover for a bit, but long term, those flaws that players coming in will have. Marino's done excellent. We've praised him to the hilt,
absolutely,
but he's not Havertz. There's no getting away from it. So it. And we're just running out of steam, aren't we?
Yeah, and then the set piece at the back. We're missing Havertz for his defensive abilities. He's at 6'4". Wins a lot of headers from defensive corners, and Gabriel. So we're going to be a little bit more suspect. Now I know we were conceding set piece goals before, but I mean, 2 of our 9 goals conceded from set pieces were conceded yesterday. That's take those 2 goals away, and we've conceded the same number of set piece goals as Liverpool. runaway league champions. So I think there's perspective. I think, was that stats that lies, whatever that phrase is. It's like you can use a statistic to support any argument you want to
Oh yeah.
make. And I don't think the set piece concessions are as drastic or worrying as there's mitigating circumstances. I think the last two games are just like we've conceded 4 goals in the last 2 games at home to Palace and Bournemouth. I think, they're anomalies. I said it after the Palace game. I'm like, I don't care about the Palace performance. Like, we were looking at PSG first leg. That clearly that was it. This one has hit differently for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because we lost the PSG game. I don't know. But for some reason, it feels different.
It's easier to make light of dropping points to Palace and Brentford when you've just beaten Real Madrid.
Yeah, and maybe the buzz from the glow from winning that tie has somewhat dimmed after the PSG result.
Yeah.
Perhaps
there's all these juxtapositions. Again, we're looking at this season as being a catastrophe because last season we did do well. All right, we fell at the end or whatever, but that run from Dubai onwards was ridiculous.
Yeah, you just said this. We're looking at this season as a catastrophe. There's probably about in the Premier League alone. There's probably how many teams are in the Premier League? 20. there's probably 17 or 18. No, probably 18 other teams wishing their season was as catastrophic as ours.
Well, who at the moment is going to turn around and say, "Yeah, really pleased with what we've done this year"? Liverpool, obviously.
Yes. Newcastle. Yeah.
Villa are sort of, don't know.
Yeah, but they're in danger of not qualifying for the Champions League again.
Forest will say yes.
Will they?
Yes.
If they don't qualify top 5.
It'll feel.
Yeah.
But they'll know.
Because they had it and they've lost it.
Yeah, I get that. And I suppose the ending will inform the recency bias of it will affect that.
And same with Chelsea and Maresca. He's banging. No, if they get top 5, he'll laud it as an amazing success of the season because he's already banging on about it. How many times have we been in the top 4? It's like how many of those teams would swap places with us right now? Second and semi-final of the Champions League. So it's not. It's perspective, isn't it? But yeah, it's not as catastrophic as you might think. Looking at PSG then, did Chris pick his team?
He did, and it's exactly the same as mine. So Raya in goal.
Probably the same as mine as well, let's be honest.
This is the thing, it's got to the point now where the limits, any particular change to what I'm about to say is Arteta doing something no one expects. And no one expects that.
When did he last do something no one expects in a game like this?
Oh, who knows? I can't remember.
He doesn't have that Pep trait, thankfully.
Galaxy brain.
Yeah.
Raya in goal. Timber, Saliba, Kivior, Lewis Skelly, Odegaard, Partey, Rice, Saka, Marino, Martinelli.
Yeah.
The only question marks will be on fitness. Marino, Timber.
Any deviation from that will be an injury thing, a fitness issue. It won't be a tactical thing. I think he'll play that. I think Kivior and Saliba have had a decent amount of time together. I know Saliba's made a couple of mistakes. He's also played very, very well either side and around those mistakes.
Well, I mean, there was one tackle against PSG which was phenomenal.
Similar.
There was a pretty good one against Bournemouth as well.
Yeah, similar one against I can't remember which striker it was. It was just an amazingly timed tackle, and Kivior's done really well, like better than I thought he would do. And Lewis Skelly has just been like immense. I was a little bit worried. I did think Lewis Skelly looked a bit tired at the end, but again, he maybe decided that, do you know what? I'm going to keep something in the tank for Wednesday. You don't know. I suspect that there will be a surprise on the bench. I suspect
for PSG.
No, for us. Yeah, for us against PSG on Wednesday. I suspect Havertz will be on the bench.
I thought it was too soon.
He said he could be back a few weeks before the end of the season. I suspect he might be on the bench, and that he definitely won't start,
Oh,
obviously.
and
But
obviously, yeah.
I suspect he might be on the bench, and that would be a good boost as well.
There's only two scenarios at which he comes on then.
Well, we need a goal,
Well, A, when we're just literally throwing everything at it and we need a goal.
or
Or,
in the 119th minute. Have I got that? Yeah, just before it goes to
you know what I was
penalties.
going to say?
No.
When we're about 4 or 5 nil down.
Oh. Oh, mine's much better.
It is, yeah.
I
And
think
even then, actually, do you
there's
know
a
what?
difference. This is how we view Arsenal there, in a
If we
nutshell.
are actually 4 or 5 nil down, he won't come on.
No,
Actually,
won't risk him. No,
maybe if it's we're 4 or 5 nil up.
no, he won't risk him. He'll let him. He'll want him for the final, so he won't. So no, it would be we're chasing a goal before the end of 90 minutes, or it's for the penalty shootout because he has history. Well, he didn't he score the? Or was that a penalty? His goal for Chelsea in the Champions League final, was that
I
a
don't think
penalty?
it was a penalty.
No, I'm not sure. But he's good from the penalty spot, so get him on for that. Has Chris got a score prediction?
Yep. He says an honourable 1-1. Sorry. Which would obviously see us out 2-1.
I can completely understand. Like I've got no issue with that at all. I can see it, and so I'm pretty confident what you're gonna. Well, I know not the score necessarily, but the outcome.
I do see us scoring. I can see us scoring, but I also can't see us keeping PSG out. So then how far do I go? I think whichever way round it goes, let's say the game is poised at 1-1, I don't know why, and it's maybe informed by the Bournemouth ending. I can just see us getting caught late on, throwing too much at it, and then it finishing PSG 2-1. Sorry.
So you're taking no encouragement from what the women did.
No.
Okay, they won 4-1 at Lyon
They
after
did.
a goal deficit.
Well done then.
Okay, you're ready for mine. Sorry, before I give you mine, how do you think Arteta will approach the game? 1-0 down, keep it tight, 20
Well,
minutes.
this is why, because in my head, literally, I've been wrestling with. I don't know who's going to score first. I don't think we throw everything at it straight away. In the same way that 2-0 at the end of the first game would have really killed our sort of hopes. Conceding early again will puncture the atmosphere massively. But we're only half of the story. PSG will come firing out the traps. So unless we've come up with some kind of cunning plan to either stifle that or circumvent it, who knows?
Is that a Blackadder reference?
It is a Blackadder reference. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure that's great.
Thanks.
Um, I think PSG will come at us. Look, I think that's how they play.
Do.
Yeah, that's what they do. No surprises there. They can't sustain it for 90 minutes, as we found out at the Emirates. We just need to make sure that by the time we get to minute 30, we're still in the tie.
Yeah.
I think that's still 1-0 down or better. No, so still 1-0 down or better on 30 minutes is the George Graham kind of mapping out the 1989 game at Anfield. That's what we're looking for. And then we'll start to we'll have got the measure of them. They'll have run out of a bit of wind, and then we'll start to, because psychologically they have never won the Champions League. Have they lost a final?
Yeah.
So they're going to start getting nervous. They're a young team, relatively inexperienced team, certainly at this stage of a competition. Human nature, they're going to get, and home crowd as well. They'll feed off, the tension in the stands as well.
Yeah, but again, the culture is slightly different. I think that English culture, fan culture I was talking about, is that the nervous tension, because English fans react to the game, is more palpable. In the Parc des Princes, the PSG ultras will be doing their sort of coordinated, choreographed stuff that will kind of override any tension that could be from elsewhere in the stadium. I don't know if it will feel like that particularly. And I do.
Until we get our third goal in the 20th minute.
Sure. I just think as well, this is a very different PSG. You said about them being a young team, and I get that. And that, who knows, that could have an effect. In the same way, our psychology played into the first PSG game, maybe. But I don't think they carry the weight like the previous iterations of PSG because they're not built on superstars.
Yeah, they're a
offset
team.
with some other players. They're a team. They're a proper team. And Luis Enrique's done it. He's done it with PSG. So if he knows how to convey, how to feel, what to do, he's the one maybe to do it. I don't know.
Well, I have predicted a 1-0 win for us.
Time. I can't be doing with extra time.
And we'll go through on penalties.
My word.
And quite a few Arsenal fans will end up in hospital.
Even after think of our last couple of penalty shootouts. Ugh. Raya against United in the FA Cup.
Look, yes, I'm like he. I don't know when I watched when the games are on Prime, I'm a minute and 15 seconds behind. But in real life, Raya is obviously about 5 seconds ahead of the actual game because he dives early every single time. To the point where I get you trying to gain an advantage, but it's no advantage if you dive so early that the striker, the penalty taker rather, knows which way you're going, so they'll just change their minds.
And a lot of modern penalty techniques are all about that. It's about committing them, and it's almost like there's lots of like clips that come up online where you see a player, they're almost deciding as their boot comes down towards the ball, and they're not looking at the ball, they're looking at the keeper. To see like a little body movement. He puts his weight on one leg. Well, I'm going to go that way because he's now got further to go. It's so subtle that I don't know if that going early. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
I just think
it just feels wrong. Watching from the stands feels wrong.
We haven't had a difficult moment in this Champions League.
No, not really.
This is our difficult moment. This the PSG tie. And you have to overcome it. Look back to 2006. Riquelme penalty, 90th minute saved. There are moments. Just go back to our Parma, our win against Parma in '94. Was it '94? Yeah. 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Horrible game.
They were
so many chances.
Yes, by far the better team, but we got there. My favourite FA Cup final win, and this says more about my petty nature than anything else, is the Man United Cardiff one. They battered us.
Daylight robbery, that was, wasn't it?
Like completely. And I hated every second of it up until Vieira's freak final kick in an Arsenal shirt. I just thought, and then once that had gone in, I would not have scripted the game any differently. It was the absolute best way to win an FA Cup final, considering the opposition as well. But it was difficult. Like, you had to suffer it, and we have to suffer it, and it'll test our mental strength as a team, players. It'll test our skill, commitment, our concentration, all of that. But we actually got through. If we replicate the result in the Bernabeu, then we're taking ourselves to penalties. Bernabeu is a little bit more daunting than the Parc des Princes.
Where does it sit in terms of, obviously, Parc des Princes is more intimidating than PSV, but what about Sporting? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not been to Bournemouth. I get the impression that the pitch, you're quite a long way from the pitch as well.
A bit, I think, yeah.
And only 48,000. I was like really surprised by that. I thought the capacity was a lot higher, but it's not. 48,000. I don't know,
You're thinking of
48,000.
the National Stadium, Stade Francais.
I must be. I must
That's
be.
where they
Yeah.
play the rugby, and that is
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a lot
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah. I reckon I am. Go me. So I think we'll win on penalties. Who takes our penalties?
I don't know. All narrative. It's either Havertz resurrected for the running,
Saka.
or it's no Odegaard.
To what? To score the winning penalty.
Score the winning penalty. Current lightning rod for Arsenal.
Lewis Skelly.
Oh, yeah.
And the more important question is,
how does he celebrate?
If it does go to penalties, will you watch them?
Yeah. I've had messages today from people. A few people are organising, like where and how they're watching it, and I don't think I'm going to go out of my way to do anything in particular, because everywhere in Norfolk takes ages to get to, and that drive back, if we haven't done it, I can't. No, I'm not making anything of it. Like you said about our chances of top 5 are certainly in favour, way more than they're not. The balance has tipped for the thing game. PSG have that advantage. They're playing well.
They're favourites now, yeah.
I do think in some respects, I'd prefer to be coming into this game as more of an underdog. Look, don't get me wrong, I'd bite your hand off for a 1-0 lead and more. But, yeah, we've just got to take a swing, haven't we?
Yeah, as we've said, this doesn't come around often.
He who dares wins, Rodders. And with all the sitcom references tonight, aren't I?
This time next year,
we'll be champions.
League champions. Having scored 120 goals.
Conceded 3.
Woohoo! Not just invincible. We'll have won every game. Okay. I haven't had a drink, I promise. All right.
But you can, because it's bank holiday.
It is bank holiday. That's true. Good stuff. Right. There's not much else to say. I think yesterday's performance, result obviously, but performance, certainly last 30 minutes was, disappointing stroke, frustrating stroke, worrying, alarming, delete as you wish. And I just hope it is as a direct result of conserving energy and safeguarding injury against injury with Wednesday in mind. And that, look, we've just got to go for it. We've got to make sure that it's the best game of our season, best performance of our season from every single one of the players who start. We can do it. We're no mugs, we can do it. Despite the 2 players we're missing, as in Gabriel and Havertz, we can still do it. And PSG will be aware of that. So, fingers crossed, pray to your various gods and lucky charms and sit nervously behind the sofa, watch the game through your fingers.
Listen to the inane commentary. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway. And just enjoy our WhatsApp group as well.
Did you miss my message? I mean, just to give a bit of insight to people who are listening. So I'm at my friend's 40th. Couldn't go to the game because of it. And once we'd lost, I think one of my messages said, "I just want this season over with." I'm spent emotionally.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's been a bit of a one, hasn't it?
Yeah, worryingly, that's how the players played the last 30 minutes yesterday. So that's what I don't want to happen on Wednesday. Anyway, look, we're talking round in circles.
Oh, no, yeah.
Let's keep everything crossed. We'll watch the game. We'll join up again for a post PSG podcast, whatever that looks like or sounds like. Remains to be seen. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Do a Reacto pod.
Or a Reacto pod. Well, we certainly will if we've won. How about that? I don't want to talk about it if we haven't.
If we haven't, no pod next week.
No, that's it. Retirement. Okay, well, listen, have a great few days wherever you are. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you on the other side. Come on the arse.
Au revoir.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.